first weekend of action from the 2021 BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Championships. It's all about bobsleigh, starting with Friday's first day of action from the women's bob. After a run that put her in sixth position in the first heat, Katy Beil of Austria, the World Cup champion, stepped up again in the second heat towards the end of the first morning's action. Anja Grecu had moved up from 12th to lead with 6 to go, but the Romanian was put back by Beil by just 300ths. Beil was still the leader as we got to the top 4. Germany's Olympic and world champion Mariama Yamanka slipping. Two-time world champion Alana Myers-Taylor in 4th place after the first heat, 3800ths off the lead. Put a big run down to lead by 2/10. The top 3 sleds, Kim Kalicki, 3rd place, last year's silver medalist here. She was 2900ths off the lead, 1600ths off silver, but a fantastic second run by Kalicki left Alana Myers-Taylor struggling in her wake by nearly half a second. In second place after the first of the 4 heats, Lauren Alter and Deborah Levy, the junior world champions, Germany's 4th sled. Fastest start in both heats. She was 1300ths off the lead in the first, but she slipped behind her teammate. Kalicki would be ahead at the line. Lauren Alter still in the top 3 at the end of day 1. A day she didn't survive until the end of last year, crashing out in the second heat. The first heat leader was Kaylee Humphries, with Lolo Jones behind her for only the second race start this year. As Lolo returned from retirement, Humphries, in a brand new BTC sled that she'd never driven before the training week, put down 2 great runs, fastest in both heats. The overnight lead, 3400ths of a second, ahead of last year's silver medalist Kalicki. The gaps may seem large, but this is a track where anything can and probably will happen. Saturday was a snowstorm day in Altenberg. First up on track, an early start for the 2-man competition. After a disappointing first run for Benny Meyer, 16th place, he had to risk it all in the second heat and reminded everybody just how tough a track Altenberg is. He crashed out of the race. Simon Friedli of Switzerland was one of 2 Swiss sleds in the top 6 after the first heat, tightly packed in the battle for the medals. A great second run in only his second World Championship would see him take the lead, with 5 sleds still to go. Among those 5, Hans-Peter Hanikhofer, the 2-man junior world champion. He got a 4th German sled in, and despite a huge sideways moment at the fastest part of the track, somehow clung on just ahead of Friedli. Coach Rennie Spies might have been worrying about the drive. Hanikhofer might have other issues with fitness. Hanikhofer still led as we got to the fastest 3 sleds from the first heat. Oskars Kibermanis, the bronze medalist a year ago, dropped out. Hansi Lochner, silver medalist a year ago, was in 3rd place after the first of our 4 runs, and he took the lead away from Hanikhofer, laying down a challenge for a medal, but still not happy with his day's work. Mikko Vogt of Switzerland lay in the silver medal position after the first of the 4 runs, 2 on each of the 2 days of competition. 200ths ahead of Lochner from the first run. He came in 500ths behind, still in a strong medal position. But the strongest of them all, Francesco Friedrich. With Alexander Schuller in the first 2 runs, they were 100th off the start record. Francesco leading the field comfortably, 5200ths ahead after the first heat and extending that to 8800ths after the second. Tomorrow he'll go hunting for the start record, the track record, and his 7th consecutive 2-man World Championship gold. The blizzard was still blowing hard in the afternoon for the final runs of the Women's Bobsleigh World Championships. 4th and final heat saw Alana Myers-Taylor, former world champion, in 5th position. trying to hold off the resurgent 2019 world champion and 2018 Olympic champion Mariami Amanka. Couple of mistakes in the sled that Kaylee Humphries won with the previous season, but Alana Myers-Taylor sealed herself a top 5 finish on her return to World Championship competition. Stephanie Schneider of Germany, the second fastest sled down the mountain in the third heat, put herself into medal contention. She was 1500ths out of the bronze after 3 runs. First job to deal with Alana Myers-Taylor and to lay down a challenge for her teammates. Schneider the leader with 3 to go. First up, Lara Nolte and Deborah Levy. They'd been in second place after the first heat, slipped out to third overnight, crashed out after day 1 a year before, but a good run to put herself into the medals confirmed Nolte's quality act. The top 2 were the top 2 a year earlier. Kim Kalicki with Ann Kristen Strack behind her. Kalicki with Kara Lipperheider, the silver medalists in Altenberg 2020. She was not going to be caught by Lara Nolte, but could she put enough pressure on Humphries? While mistakes halfway down the run took a bit of speed out of the sled, but it was still a medal-winning run. Kaylee Humphries with 2900ths in hand after the first 3 heats, but on this track, that can easily go away. She didn't have quite the speed of Kalicki on day 2. The gap came down and then she started to open it up again, sealing her 4th World Championship gold. Lara Nolte claimed the bronze, Kim Kalicki the silver, but Kaylee Humphries and Lolo Jones, the gold medalists. And for Jones, it's a first Winter World Championship gold. Sunday for the final runs of the 2-man was clear and cold, but that didn't make the track any easier. On a track that claimed another victim, Ivo de Bruin of the Netherlands crashing out in the third heat. Simon Friedli of Switzerland was in the top 5, but in a battle for the bronze medal, 3 sleds covered by just 600ths of a second heading into the final run. A strong run from Friedli laid down a real challenge for those that would follow him. First of whom was Hans-Peter Hanikhofer. The junior world champion in 2-man was just tied for the bronze medal after 3 heats, 600ths ahead of the Swiss. And despite slightly wild lines, Hanikhofer sped at the bottom, giving himself a real medal shot. It was down to Mikkel Vogt of Switzerland to defend his position in the medals. He was ahead early on after another strong start, but slipped away with mistakes down the straight. And Lowdown did not have the speed. He dropped behind Hanikhofer and his teammates, slipping from 3rd to 5th position at the line. Because there was going to be no catching the top 2. Johannes Lochner of Germany with Eric Franke behind him. Franke raced here last year with Nico Walter. This year with Lochner on the podium. Hansi was second almost all competition and sealed the silver medal. A German 1-2 with 1 sled to go. And the horn for Francesco Friedrich and Alexander Schuller, the defending world champions. Friedrich leading by a country mile after 3 heats. Just drove away from the opposition to win by over 2 seconds ahead of his closest rival and claim a record-breaking 7th consecutive 2-man World Championship gold medal. The historic Max Huben Trophy goes to Francesco Friedrich and Alexander Schuller. The first weekend completed Francesco Friedrich with a record 7th 2-man World Championship gold medal around his neck, and in the second week 4 busy days of action from men and women's skeleton, a team competition, the monobobs for the first time ever in World Championship action, and the 4-man competition.